Hello, Earth Angels, and welcome back to another episode of Alignment Academy. It's your host, Kristen.
And Ariana.
Yeah, we're back, guys. And it's going to be another fun, dynamic conversation. Just today, we're talking a little bit about inner child work. So you guys sent a lot of questions in. This is a topic that, as you guys know, is the foundation of my work. I wanted to go into it in different ways. And like I've mentioned so many times, when I have someone here to talk to me, it's just easier to speak. So we're going to
Plus, she just wanted to hang out again.
Yeah, we just wanted to hang out. And this is a good excuse to hang with all of you.
Okay, so Kristen, how's your life been this past bit? Should we tell them?
Oh my gosh. Life has been lifing for sure in the best way possible. So as we're sitting here, I am 3 days out of my Joe Dispenza retreat. That was my third Joe Dispenza retreat. It was an advanced follow-up for you guys that know about him. So I've done an advanced, week-long advance, and then I've done 2 advanced follow-ups. And this was an advanced follow-up. It was in Cancun. A weekend before the Joe Dispenza retreat, me and you had quite a life-changing mushroom trip.
Earth-shattering, life-changing, like everything. Literally, I'm speechless. Like, I don't even know how to articulate what happened.
Yeah, it was pretty, there's no words to describe the trip. And
it was just beautiful.
So you guys know I am hosting a retreat in Joshua Tree in, I guess, a week from tomorrow when I'm recording this.
Wow.
I had to be present with the mushrooms, get in right relationship with the mushrooms. And so I went to Joshua Tree and I was like, Ari, you want to come? And she said yes. And so we went to Joshua Tree together and had a little mushroom experience. And it was one of the most beautiful, life-changing trips of my entire life. I don't know about you.
Yeah. Ditto, 100%.
And then before that, as you guys know, I went to Peru. So I've been in a portal of spiritual experiences and transformations. And I actually kind of wanted to speak to this because I know to the outside world, this might sound like a lot and intense. And like, this girl just does a lot of shit. Like, what is she doing? Does she integrate? What the heck? This was a lot. It was a lot for me, but it also was perfect in a lot of ways. And one of the things that I teach in Inner Work Alchemy, which is one of my programs, is as you get more aware and more conscious of your life, you start to learn more patterns of how things unfold in your life, your own patterns of how you manifest, your own patterns of how things come to you. You just start to notice patterns. And one of the patterns that's really interesting that I've learned or observed about myself is that around end of November to February and March is a very spiritually charged time period for me. So like I had my breakup in February, my Costa Rica first retreat where I met my best friend Bree and I had all these spiritual experiences was in the end of February. All the Joe Dispenza retreats I've been to, they've all been December through February. All the mushroom trips that have been life-changing, they've been November through February. Like, I don't know why, but I've been able to understand the patterns of how my soul works. And then in the middle of the years is a lot of that integration. It's actually a lot slower. I mean, last summer I was in, my human era and I wasn't doing any spiritual experiences. I was like super in my body. Honestly, I was judging myself a little bit. I was like, am I doing too much? Like, am I going on too many things? Am I just saying yes to too many things without taking the proper time to integrate? Because as you know, I really like to live in integrity with, not just chasing things, but also doing the inner work to integrate. And then I just started remembering of the pattern of how my soul works, of the cycles of my life and the cycles of my spiritual growth. And I was just like, no, this is perfect. This is right on schedule. And it's so interesting because as I recapped in my Peru episode, a lot of my trip had started before Peru, right? It started before when I took the mushrooms at my house and nothing happened. But now that I'm kind of done with, well, I guess I'm not done. I have one more retreat that I'm hosting, but after the Joshua Tree, it's so interesting how lessons that were present before Peru are now getting rolled up into a beautiful bow, but it had to be a lot of the lessons unfolded at Joe Dispenza. And so I feel
I
like
love that.
it's just a crazy,
Well, also to your point, and to something that you mentioned and something that we've kind of talked about before, I think it's really easy to look at like these past couple months of your life and as an outsider be like, wow, this girl like really just likes to spend money on this kind of thing or go and do this kind of thing. Like, what is she really doing? As an outsider, right? But then like you look at it and like a little bit more objectively and you can be like, okay, wait, let me back up like 10 seconds here. Like, you are doing incredible inner work and incredible work on yourself. And just because it happens to be in the same multi-month window, like that doesn't change what you're actually doing at these things. Like, and it's not like you're going and you're just la-di-da-di-da, like going through the motions and then coming back to reality. Like, no. I, as a bystander here, I can say like, you have truly done so much work in these past couple months. And then now you lock in for the next X amount of months of the year. I just love that it does just so happen to be like back to back to back for you.
it was for sure a lot. And the thing is my highest priority in this lifetime is soul expansion. And the only way you expand your soul is through experience. Not any book, not any course, through real lived experiences. And one of the reasons I actually did so many of these experiences this year is because at the end of 2024, I sat down with myself. I was on an airplane and I wanted to go through the highlight of my year. I wanted to go through all the best thing that ever happened to me in that year. Every highlight of 2024 was either a retreat I went to. It was like Joe Dispenza retreat. It was Peru. It was a vacation, or it was an experience with a friend that I couldn't get back. It was like a mushroom trip or something. And it was funny because in 2024, when I was spending money on all those things, I was like, is this worth it? Like, is it not?
Right.
And then at the end of the year, when I was doing my reflection, my recap, I was like, these experiences were so worth it. They were worth 7 times the amount of like they weren't even worth an amount of money.
Right.
They were you can't put a price on soul experiences. You just can't. And so this year, what I promised myself is if there's an opportunity that comes my way and it feels like a fuck yes, I'm going to say yes, because the truth is I don't know when I get my last day here. You know, I don't know if I'm going to die. It just tomorrow was never promised. And so I can't take my money with me. You know, it's expensive for me to go to these things too. I don't necessarily want to be dropping thousands of dollars all the time. But to me, you know, I really am like, you value spiritual growth. You value your soul expansion. Show me. Show me how much you value it. And for me, sometimes that comes in the form of spending money, but money is just energy. And I know that all the energy I'm putting back into these experiences is going to come back to me tenfold, whether it's in being able to help people with something that I've been through, whatever it is. Like I'm going to be able to give back or get that back in a different way, in a different form, monetary or not.
And this is something else that I'll add to that. I almost want to articulate this, like, and just share this with a lot of your listenership because they don't know you like I do. And again, like from an outsider's perspective, it might look like you're running from something, you know, like it's easy to be like, oh, wow, this person signs up for a lot of retreats or like goes and does like a lot of like quote unquote soul work. Okay. As your friend and as somebody who's really close to you, it's been so fun to watch how you're actually not running from something at all. You're actually running towards something.
Yeah.
And like, this is like a full fuck yes. I'm chasing the highest version of myself. This is what it takes to do that. And yeah, so I kind of just wanted to add that in to be like, if you're listening to this and you feel like you want to, you know, go spend money on some different kinds of experiences, you want to go and like really do something different, and you feel your soul is like craving that like next level, and that like, I don't know, you need to level up in some way, but you're not really sure how, you can run towards that thing. Like, you're allowed to spend money on yourself in ways that other people don't understand and that don't resonate with other people, because you feel like you need to level yourself up. And sometimes you need to throw yourself into the deep end with like really crazy like-minded people or other people that are several levels above you in order to level yourself up.
Oh my gosh, this is such a big thing because, to be honest, half the reason I go is to be expanded by the people I'm around. Like when I was at Joe Dispenza, I'm sitting next to my friends that have fuck you money. Like they don't work for years because they're just like, I want to travel this year and it doesn't matter. Here's the thing is like, it's not just a retreat. I'm getting invaluable information. I'm getting to study abundant people. I'm getting to be around them and their frequency. And I remember I got to sit with one of my guy friends on the bus back to the airport. He is not working this year. He was flying to Puerto Rico and we were talking about money. And I was just like asking him, I'm like, do you still study money even though you're still abundant? Like I'm picking his brain,
Right.
I'm trying to learn his mindset. I'm trying to understand all that I can in this like 2-hour bus ride because it's not every day I get to sit next to somebody that has way more money than me and is killing it and has been killing it, So
And has like literally broken free of the matrix.
Exactly.
In every single way, shape, and form.
Exactly. So sometimes it's not even about the actual retreat that I'm going to. I mean, all the things that I've gone to, it has been about that, but it's also about putting yourself in rooms with people that you don't typically have access to. And it's funny because, I'm going to call some people out here, but I'll see people every time I post a retreat reach out and ask about information of the retreat. And I can see it in our text thread, like I've given them the retreat information 4, 5, 6 times. And it's like, babe, your soul is clearly just telling you to fucking do this. Like, what is it going to take? Why is fear so present in your life,
Right.
And not in a bad way, but it's just a moment where you can self-reflect and be like, has my soul been telling me to join this program or go to this retreat or spend money on this thing? And I've just been constantly too fucking scared to do it. And like that exact thing is going to put you on a new timeline completely. Like you signing up for that exact thing is literally going to catapult you into you were on this path and now you're on this path, because as soon as you say yes to a soul experience, number one, your soul expands and you have new perspectives. Number two, you meet new people. Those new people invite you to new things. Those new things invite you to other new things. Like you're literally on a different timeline. Every time I say yes to something, it is a full send. Now I'm on a higher timeline. This is it. Like life just keeps getting better and better and better. And when you are really actually committed to your higher self, it does get better and better and better. So
Totally.
it's been fun.
Needless to say, it's been fun.
Yeah.
I love it.
So that's what's been going on in my life. I mean, you had a pretty soul-shattering, earth-shattering.
Wait, no, you forgot. Guys, I know Kristen's been updating y'all with some of her parasite cleanse journey.
Yeah, we've been on a parasite cleanse for the last 30 days.
We have. So we're entering our final week of our parasite cleanse. I am only briefly going to touch on this because I know that it's a really weird concept that makes a lot of people uncomfortable, but I was debating whether or not I wanted to mention anything about this parasite cleanse, but I'm only mentioning it to like normalize it a little bit.
Yeah.
So yeah, parasite cleansing, it's normal, it's casual, it's okay if you do it. Like you should be doing it a couple times a year. It's cool. We decided to do a really incredible spiritual awakening mushroom trip mid parasite cleanse. Therefore, it's been like a total physical, spiritual cleanse as well. And I honestly just wanted to mention, like, yeah, how have I been? How's my life been? It's been good, but wow, there's been a lot of energy shifting, like from the physical and like all the changes that have been happening there. Just like literally, I'm doing a parasite and heavy metal detox right now. Oh, that is so real. That is so real. And I'm a science girl. Like I went to school to get a PhD in food science. Like my background is in science. Note, I did not actually get said PhD for other reasons, but I'm a science girl and that stuff is so real. And two, the energetic cleansing that went on in the mushroom trip and just everything that's happened like 2 weeks later now has just been crazy. So if you listen to the episode that I was on with Kristen, I am chasing a world record in Ironman triathlons. has been quite the journey. I'm in a really interesting season right now where with all of this cleansing has come like kind of a rebirth in a lot of ways. And it's been very uncomfortable. And I don't want to sit here and be like, wow, yeah, training is going so well. My life is going so well. Everything's so good. I'm cleansing. I'm changing. I'm evolving. Like, it's going to go so well. I can feel that I'm going to turn a corner where everything's going to fall into place. But right now, I'm in this really uncomfortable period where a lot of things have been shifting, a lot of energy has been changing, and I can feel some really good things are on the horizon. But right now I'm in that little dip, like right before it gets good.
Ari is actually, and this is funny because I'm just now putting this together. You're like in a really deep spiritual awakening, right?
Yeah, you could say that.
And it's funny because she was on the path, but I think that because we're so close in real life and like I mean, believe me, I do not hold back with Ari. I literally am like talking like a fucking weirdo all the time with her. I'm like, yeah, I'm just tuning into another dimension. Like, you know, weird, especially now that I'm back from Joe Dispenza, I'm just like really on my quantum girl shit. It was funny. So like we had this mushroom trip and I've had plenty of mushroom trips. So like I'm coming back and I didn't need that much integration. I'm like la-di-da. But my first one where I, you know, had my source reunion and met God, like I told Ari I couldn't talk to people for 3 days. I was so shattered of my view of reality.
And I had a similar experience. I met God.
Ari met God, but then like I forgot that like she's gonna need a lot of integration.
And I live in a house with 6 other people, so it kind of took a second there. I'm sitting here as the one that's for all the girlies out there that are new to the world of soul expansion, that are new to the spiritual world. Hi, I'm also new. I'm loving every second of it, but wow, it's exciting. There's a lot that changes. And you have to be so gentle with yourself.
Yeah, you're an old soul. So it's like, I feel like you're more remembering than like, it's like a soul remembrance, but it's still a lot for your human. But it's actually been really good for me to be around you because since I haven't had that shattering of a spiritual awakening lately, I mean, it's been, you know, a lot of years. It's a good reminder of even like, okay, this is where my community's at. Like, this is what we need to talk about. Like, this is what needs to be nurtured. So I actually weirdly feel like it's been really nice for me to be and hear and see what you're struggling with, because the truth is if you feel like the people you're hanging out with and your life and everything is shifting and you're like, this is too much. I mean, I think that's a normal experience on the spiritual journey, but it's not talked about a lot.
Exactly. Which is honestly why I wanted to highlight that in my little, how's life been situation. Lots of energy moving and I think, and shifting and growth happening. And I feel like, like what I was saying before, I'm in a really uncomfortable period of growth. And I think it's a lot of being really gentle with myself right now. And we'll get into it today, but I feel like this is a perfect segue into something that I did for the first time over the weekend.
By accident.
I'm going to make a quick assumption about you if you listen to Alignment Academy, the podcast, that ever since you were little, you just had this deep feeling that you were meant for big things in this world. You weren't here to be ordinary, but you were here to be a mover and a shaker. Hi, I'm Kristen, and same. Except for years, I was self-sabotaging because even though I felt in my soul that I was here to do extremely big things, I could not stop procrastinating, self-sabotaging, feeling massive amounts of imposter syndrome, and don't forget getting triggered as fuck every single day of my life. And honestly, I didn't know what to do. And then I found inner work. I found energy healing. I found all of the modalities that I still use today. The spiritual tools that I use feel like I found a hack to this universe. Like, the rules don't apply to me because I know how to shift my vibration. I know how to reprogram my subconscious mind. I know how to give myself any beliefs that I want to believe about the world, like money comes easy to me and the rules don't apply to me and I don't need a real job. These are all just beliefs that I believe about myself. If you're similar to me, you know you have a big mission, but you know it's also time to get out of your own way and heal your blocks for good so you can actually just take action on your mission. This is why I created Alignment Academy, the membership. Inside this membership, you are going to get everything from live coaching sessions with me monthly, all of my best-selling heart work meditations and hypnosises. You're going to get all of my energy healing activations to do energy work on yourself anytime you want. Not to mention, as soon as you enroll, you get a library of 9 past masterclasses and 8 on-demand meditations. But the very best part is the people in the community. This is some of the most heart-centered, amazing humans I've ever come in contact with. Honestly, people have made friends in this group. They've met up in person in this group. It's the place to be. This is seriously the only space on the internet that weaves quantum manifestation, inner work, and business to help you quantum leap in your soul's growth and your business growth. If you're serious about healing, getting out of your own way, and taking massive action this year, then join with the link below. See you inside.
So let's set the stage. Okay. So I get back from Joe Dispenza. Obviously, we have a lot to catch up on. So I'm like, do you want to come over for dinner? The boys, our guy friends, are like watching the Super Bowl. And I'm like, my vibration is way too fucking high for that. No, I'm just kidding. I mean, I just like didn't need to be involved in that. Like, I don't even watch football. I'm bad. That was a joke. And I was, I was like, Kristen loves sports. I was like, yeah, do you want to come over? I was like, do you want to come over? And so you and Jerry, our other friend, came over for dinner and we hung out. And then all of a sudden, how did we even get there? Like, yeah, you can tell the rest.
Basically, like I said before, it's been just kind of a hard period of time. I think lots of energy moving, lots of things changing in my own life. And like, I really didn't want to admit that for a while. I'm a person where I'm obviously chasing a world record in Ironman triathlons. Like, I think being emotional is kind of hard for me. I think I'm really naturally more in my masculine energy. I think being in my feminine has for a long time equaled being weak, and I'm rewriting that narrative in my own head right now. And so I think being gentle with myself, and if I'm on Saturday I was supposed to do a 5.5-hour bike ride. Like, I was supposed to ride almost 100 miles. And I barely made it halfway, and I literally had to throw in the towel because my body was just not, it's hard to get your body to do things if your mind is not in the right state. And my body was just not wanting to do that. Instead of being frustrated with myself or angry or, disappointed, I was just trying to give myself a lot of grace and be like, it's okay. You know what? Like, let's pivot. What does the body want? Because, when your body's not responding, okay, it's not working. Well, now you got to listen and then refocus that energy into what will work. And I think it's really easy something's not working. Let's be solutions oriented and okay, these are my coping mechanisms. These are my skills. These are usually my solutions. How do I go about fixing this? Well, surprise, surprise. When you're in a period of severe and really intense growth, sometimes you can't just turn to solutions. You can't turn to coping mechanisms. You kind of just got to sit in that energy for a second.
And emotions are information. Sometimes you can't logically unpack all of your emotions and why it's happening. You just have to let the intelligence of the body move through, which is something that you're not typically used to.
No, not at all. And it's so uncomfortable because you're like, this isn't working. How do I make it work? Oh my gosh, how I would normally make it work isn't working. So instead of spiraling on that, we paused. We sat with it, whatever. Went to Kristen's house on Sunday evening, and I was like, all right, let's just have a girls' night. This is going to be lovely. Cool. I had just finished a shoot as well, so I was coming off of that. Sat down, got to chatting, doing a little girl chit chat. One of our other friends, Jerry, she mentioned inner child work, and I just kind of started asking about it. I have never done inner child work. I've heard of it, but I had a lot of questions because where do you even start with it? 1, what is it? 2, how do you do it? 3, you're telling me that I have a child on the inside of me that I can talk to, and that shifts things.
And Audie was kind of like, I can't do that. And I'm like, yeah, you can. It was kind of like that. I was like, yeah, you can.
I was like, there's no way. I probably have to train for years in order to do that.
Yeah.
And then it happened.
And then, yeah. So
back up. What is inner child work, Kristen?
Inner child work is reparenting a different version of you that is a different age, right? Typically it's from anywhere from 0 to 21, but it can be, I do inner child work on my 27-year-old self. Like I do inner child work on any past version of me. So it's connecting with a past version of yourself that has not gotten a need met and meeting that need. So yeah, again, we call it reparenting because you essentially are the parent figure for a different version of you. And then from that new place of meeting that need or bringing wholeness to your inner child, you're now essentially moving a timeline where you're operating from a sense of wholeness in the present moment because time doesn't really exist. So if you didn't get a need met in a very important part of your life, like let's say you never got attention from men, well, now your entire timeline that you're moving forward on is going to be you trying to get a certain need met in an unhealthy coping mechanism way. So when we do inner child work, it's because we feel triggered in our life and then we realize that it's operating from a core wound. We go back to that wound. We give our past self what we need. So now we can operate from a new state of being, wholeness, secure, safe. And then from this new state of being, we're able to actually show up differently in our real life and not be trying to get our needs met in an unhealthy way.
Why is inner child work important? Because it seems like, I'm 25. I've gone 25 years without ever talking to said inner child. Why is it important to do?
I mean, we all have free will. So is it necessary? I wouldn't say. Is it necessary if you want to be operating at the optimal, highest timeline version of you? I'm going to say absolutely yes. It creates a sense of wholeness where you're no longer operating from past wounds or needing anything from the external world, but you're sourcing your security and your validation from within. And therefore, when you are the source of your validation, you're actually showing up in all your relationships and all the circumstances, even in your triggered moments, from a place of like, yeah, but I can fix this. I can change my internal world. So I don't need to control the external world. Because the way that most people are operating in this vibrational reality is, let me try to control everything in the external so that I feel good and safe internally. That is a recipe of a disaster. Do you really think that you can control everything, everyone's thoughts, the weather outside so that you feel good inside? No, you can't. And so the idea of inner child work, I think, is actually bringing yourself back to the deepest sovereignty of I don't need anything or anyone to change because I am able to control my internal world. I'm able to move through my triggers, and therefore I'm able to operate from a place of wholeness. Even deeper, I mean, we're going to get really scientific, and this is what I go through really deeply in inner work alchemy, is your inner child holds all your beliefs. It holds all your thoughts about yourself. It holds all your memories, good and bad. And all of these are stored in your electromagnetic field around your body. And your electromagnetic field is responsible for what you're attracting in your life, what you're going to get served in your life, how lucky you are, what kind of men you attract, how much money you attract. All of this is in your vibrational, let's call it your vibrational QR code. Right? And so in your vibrational QR code is all these beliefs, all these thoughts, all these things, the information about what you should be getting served in the algorithm of life, right? And this is something that mushrooms showed me. When you start to understand and learn how to read your vibrational field, you realize, okay, all of these things that are in my field are just things that happened in childhood that created core beliefs or core, beliefs about myself that are now getting attracted into my reality. And so with inner child work, it really gives you the power to become a co-creator of your life, because now instead of just attracting in the world, oh, okay, I just attract men that cheat on me. Okay, I just attract friends that ditch me all the time. Oh, okay, I just attract people who never hear me or listen to me. Well, now with this knowledge, you have the ability to find the pattern, go back to the root of where you picked up that belief, completely rewrite the story for your inner child. And now the place that you're operating from, what you're going to attract in your life is going to be completely different because you're changing your QR code. So your reflection will change, all because we're always attracting what's inside of our electromagnetic field and inside of our body.
I want to speak on behalf of the girlies that are listening to this and that are like, okay, inner child work, that sounds so cool. That sounds awesome. Love that. But do I really need it? Who needs to do this? Because as somebody who is extremely new to this and who just did it for the first time this weekend, anytime somebody talked about it, I was like, wow, that sounds so lovely. Like, I would love to do something like that. But like, I don't know if I really need it. How do you know if you need it? Who should be doing this?
So if you get triggered a lot, you definitely need it. So trigger is a really intense emotional experience to an external response. And it feels like this is affecting me more than it should be. Like I am more angry than I should be. I am more hurt than I should be. A good example I give in my programs is like, let's say like your friend is playfully making fun of you and they say something like, oh my God, you're taking a picture or something. And you're like, oh, you look so ugly in this picture because you're moving or something. And you're like actually hurt about it, but you know they're kidding. You're like, I shouldn't be this mad, but like I'm genuinely hurt inside. That's because it's an inner child wound, right? Maybe a boy you liked called you ugly in grade school, and it's like actually re-triggering a core wound, and it's not actually triggering it's not actually about your friend calling you ugly. It's like triggering that core wound. So first thing is if you're getting triggered a lot in your life. The second thing is if you're struggling with things like imposter syndrome, procrastination, perfectionism, fear of being seen, fear of judgment, you don't feel like you can be your authentic self in all situations. If you're a people pleaser, there's so many things that stem from inner child work. You don't feel like you can be vulnerable. You don't use your voice. Like literally almost anything and everything roots back to an inner child wound.
Which, to that point, something that was very revealing this weekend was, when we were having this conversation, was, oh my gosh, it sounds like pretty much everybody should be doing inner child work. Because I was like, I didn't have any like crazy traumas as a child. Whoa, 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 whoa. It doesn't matter if you did or didn't. Like, you should have a good relationship with your inner child regardless.
Yes. And the way that I teach inner child work, and this is a really good point because you might say, I mean, for me, the biggest red flag is like when people are like, yeah, I had no trauma, because trauma, there is big T trauma and there's little T trauma. You know, big T trauma can be those things like that are hard to talk about, sexual abuse, people leaving you, abandonment, adoption, like things like that. There's also little T trauma, and we're not here to trauma shame. Oh, my trauma is bigger than your trauma. Trauma to a child, it affects everyone differently. And the definition I use in my work to give people permission to look at the things that happen to them in a new light is trauma is anything that you weren't prepared to feel and didn't have the capacity to process. And when you give yourself that permission slip to say, okay, wow, this person that bullied me, yeah, maybe it's not a huge deal to like my adult self now that person made fun of me, but to my child self that had no sense of self, that had no one to talk to, that had no one to process, that time that boy didn't choose me or that boy called me ugly has actually, if I'm being honest, completely shattered my sense of self and my self-worth. And so when you give yourself that permission of it's anything that you weren't prepared to feel or didn't have the emotional capacity to process, you realize that all those hard moments in childhood get stored in your body, create beliefs about yourself. And now you're operating from these beliefs that are not necessarily true, but are just really hard things that happen to you. And in order to heal, you have to validate your inner child. It's two parts. It's like validating the deepest part of your inner child of, that was absolutely not fair, and I am so sorry that happened to you, and let's go in and feel that thing that you were never allowed to feel. And then simultaneously being that adult figure and creating the separation from your inner child and your adult self and saying, and you're safe now. I'm an adult now. I can take care of you, and I'm never going to let that happen to you again. I'm always going to choose you even if boys don't choose you. I'm always going to choose you even if friends don't choose you. So I always explain to my clients, it really happens in two parts. Number one is radical validation for any emotion you're feeling, because a lot of times when we start inner child work, we're very angry, we're very emotional, and there's not really a reason why, and there's not really supposed to be. It's just you feeling these emotions that your inner child never got to feel. And then the second part is this radical responsibility of like, okay, so what do we do with this? Now that we felt it, let's get up and let's fucking go and create a life we want.
I think you mentioned something that's so important, and you said radical validation. And I think that is That is so freaking important, and people underestimate how important that is. Something that I'm in the process of learning right now is that step one is literally just saying it's okay to feel the things that you didn't allow yourself to feel as a kid. It's okay that boy made fun of you. And I know right now it seems like it wasn't that big of a deal, but to your child self, it was a freaking huge deal. And it's okay to just be like sad about it. Like you're allowed to. It's okay. Like little T trauma is still trauma, and you're still allowed to feel those things. So
quick interruption to this episode because I have to tell you something, and what I have to tell you is I'm literally freaking obsessed with doing energy work. This has been one of my favorite modalities that I've added to my spiritual toolbox to shift my energy really freaking quickly. And as you guys have learned in Alignment Academy, this is a vibrational based universe, meaning as your energy shifts, the reflections in your life also shift. People that you're attracting, the experiences that you're attracting, the money you make, literally everything shifts. In Alignment Academy, my membership, part of it is that there are guided energy works added to the portal every single month. And I really want you to be able to experience this energy work because, guys, it literally works so quick. Your reality shifts so quick. The testimonials have been insane inside of Alignment Academy. So because you're a listener of Alignment Academy, I'm offering you a free guided energy work session in exchange for rating and reviewing the podcast. All you have to do is follow my podcast Instagram at Alignment Academy Pod on Instagram. And then after you've rated and reviewed the podcast, just screenshot it, send me a DM on Alignment Academy Pod, and I'll send you the link to download your free guided energy work. During this energy healing session, we're going to be working on your confidence and your self-love. When you are filled with your own confidence and your own self-love, you are magnetic as fuck to the rest of the world. Magnetism is created when we are so filled up with love for ourselves. It's also created when we just really fuck with ourselves super hard. Like think about really magnetic people. They're not asking other people to like them or validate them. They're just like, I really fuck with me. And if you want to too, then yay. And if not, then it's all good. I can't wait for you to try this energy healing. Please DM me and let me know how it goes. And now let's get back to the episode.
let's dive into how the heck do you do this?
This is really, really a great question. So,
Because as somebody who's very new to this world and as somebody who just did it for the first time, I thought this was like okay, I gotta light a bunch of candles. I gotta be in a room with like lots of professional people. I've gotta like get my brain in like the perfect state, perfect flow. I gotta not have a crazy day in order to like get myself to be able to do this. Like, am I like, you know what I mean? So set the scene. How does somebody do this on their own?
I'm going to go through two parts. Like number one is, actually, let me say this before we even go into that. There's a million ways to do inner child work. I could be doing inner child work by sitting here right now and just being aware of like my needs and meeting my needs for myself. Like you can be doing inner child work every day. Like you could wake up and be like, what does my inner child need today? Like, oh, I want a piece of chocolate. Like I'm going to eat a piece of chocolate. And being very aware of just your child self inside of you or your past self or just yourself and being like, what do I need? Or what am I feeling? What do I need? That's a really great way. Like super elementary way to just start to get in touch with your emotions. What am I feeling? What do I need? Because what I really find in a lot of my work is that if you were never taught how to identify your feelings, that's like step 0 is to know what am I feeling. And that sounds super simple, but you would be surprised how many people come to me, work with me one-on-one, and they don't know how to say, oh, I'm feeling a little sad. They don't know how to, because that's a learned skill. If you don't know how to look inside and be like, what is this emotion? And I literally bring up feelings charts on my calls all the time and have people look at the chart and be like, okay, I think I'm feeling grief. Okay, I think I'm feeling sad. So that would be like the first step is just super elementary. Get in touch with like what you're feeling and what you need to make yourself feel better from that feeling. Like if you're feeling grief, the need might be to cry. If you're feeling sad, the need might be to be soothed. Like you don't know, but you have to start to create that relationship first. I think that there's a lot of power too in doing inner child work effectively, because that's the thing. To be honest, I'm going to be really frank. That's not going to change you. Why am I teaching inner child work? Because inner child work is the actual deepest way that you are going to create lasting change in your life. What do I mean by lasting change? Change your subconscious beliefs, which are going to change your behaviors, which are going to change your actions, which are going to actually change your life and what you're going towards, right? And I think that it's interesting. I've had a lot of clients recently be like, Kristen, I've done inner child work for 5 years, but it's never worked until I did it with you. It's never actually shifted things until I did it with you. And this is why I'm going to say, I think that there's power in doing it effectively. And the way that we do it effectively in my work is, number one, we learn how to identify our inner child wounds. And your inner child speaks to you through triggers, and it also speaks to you through excitement. So a trigger would be that emotional response to an external event. And then also like excitement of like something that you're excited to do. That's like a positive way that your inner child speaks to you, but you don't really need to work on that. You really need to work on the ways that you're getting triggered or you're having a self-sabotaging pattern. So a self-sabotaging pattern could be people pleasing. A trigger could be, someone says something to you and it like irks you for days and like you can't get out of it, or you're struggling with perfectionism or something. Once you understand how your inner child speaks to you, you have to go down into the process of actually doing the inner child work. So once you know, I have a set of questions that I ask my clients to help them find a root. You might be getting triggered because you didn't get enough likes on your Instagram. I don't know. But really the root of that is that when you were in third grade, you went home from school and you never got validation when you got A's. And so it starts with the trigger, but it has usually nothing to do with the trigger. It's like down into the memory. Once you find the core memory, you can ask yourself, what is my inner child and what would have I needed in order to have left that feeling whole, worthy, confident? And then we go into the step of rewriting and reparenting. And this is where,
Which is hard.
And I brought Ari through this whole process. But this is where you need to go down into a hypnotic state. So the way I do it is with heart work. We open our hearts. We create safety in the body so that we can get down to our subconscious mind and our brain can get into theta. Theta is just a really fancy way of saying that you're in the unconscious realm where all these beliefs exist. And when you're down in theta, this is where the trauma is kind of stored in the brain. So we go down to the place that it's stored in the brain. And when you're in theta, you are going to rewrite the memory. Now, the beautiful thing about the unconscious mind is when you're down there, when you're in theta, when your body's relaxed, your heart is open, your mind is awake, your brain, and there is scientific studies on this, does not know what's real or what's made up. So anything that you're rewriting or you're reliving in your mind, it doesn't know if it's real or if it's made up. So as you rewrite this and you go down and you give your child self what you needed but never received, maybe you're the parent figure, maybe you imagine your parents as their higher selves, or maybe you even give yourself completely new parent figures. There's different ways to do this, and I go through it really in depth in all my courses. In that state, your brain is going to accept it as truth. And so now, after, it's like, you want to think of a line in the sand. Your brain has been operating from this line in the sand that has been getting deeper and deeper, and there's more grooves and there's more grooves. And you might be operating from this place of like procrastination or perfectionism or whatever it is. And as you rewrite that memory and you give yourself what you need, you just create a new groove in the sand. And it might take a few times to really go over it because we rewrite neural pathways through either intensity or repetition, right? So you could have a really intense inner child healing and then you're like, okay, I literally feel like I'm shifted. Or you might have to go down a few times, 3, 4, 5 times and rewrite that memory. And then the most important part, so after you do the rewriting, the most important part is going to be taking aligned action as the new self. So from that new place of regulation, from that new place of wholeness and worthiness, you're going to want to show up differently in your life, right? You're going to want to take that action that you've been procrastinating on. You're going to want to use your voice. You're going to want to reach out to that person that you're scared to reach out to. You're going to want to break that pattern.
AKA inner child work is freaking incredible and everybody needs to do it.
Was that an easy way to understand? Because honestly,
totally.
You've never really heard me do the breakdown.
No,
so.
That feels super digestible and like that feels like it makes a lot of sense. Could you speak to before having done it, I was really confused on what exactly it was going to look like. Like, am I supposed to imagine myself sitting in a room with a small child? Am I supposed to imagine myself sitting in a room with my 12-year-old self? Like, what exactly are you envisioning? And like, what exactly does that look like? Kristen walked me through this incredible exercise, and when I was really doing a lot of the work, I was sitting in my childhood bedroom and I was sitting next to my younger self. And in order to actually like, when is the last time you thought about your child self? Like, I mean, I've thought about my childhood plenty, but I haven't really thought about what I looked like as a child. Like, having to envision looking at my child self was hard. Having to envision my childhood bedroom was hard. Like, these are things that, yeah, okay, childhood, yeah, I remember my room, yeah, blah, blah. No. Think through all of the details.
Yeah.
Think through, one of the easiest things to remember was I always pulled my hair back in like this slick back ponytail with like my favorite scrunchie. Like, I had to think about that detail when I was envisioning myself as a child. Like, little things. And even just going there unlocks so many little memories. It's crazy.
Yeah, and I think that it's a beautiful practice because these things are stored really deeply in our brain. And even when I have a lot of clients that come to me and say, I don't remember my childhood. And I identify with this because I don't remember my childhood too, but I know how to remember my childhood. You basically have to trigger a lot of things, like a really good exercise that I give some of my clients that don't remember a lot of their childhood is I ask them, okay, right before bed when you're really just like tired and you want to go to sleep, I want you to go to one of your childhood houses. I had a lot of childhood houses, so, pick one that you resonate with. And I want you just to walk through the rooms and remember as many details as possible from it. And you're going to be like, oh my God, there was the medicine cabinet and there was my pantry and we had Twizzlers and Lay's chips in it. Like, I'm going through my childhood house right now in my head and like, oh yeah, then my fridge was black. You remember more than you think you do.
Mm-hmm.
You do. You just need to trigger it by almost like thinking of something else, and then it will trigger more memories of it.
Question. Something else that I think that was like a bit of a block for me beforehand was I was thinking that in order to do inner child work, I needed to set aside a lot of time and space in order to actually unlock these memories. And like, doing any kind of work at the soul level and like especially thinking through your past.
It's a lot of energy.
It's a lot of energy. And you kind of just want to compartmentalize it. And you're like, okay, I'll find a day maybe in the next couple of weeks where I can do that. But how much time does it really take? Because a huge takeaway from Sunday night was it's not like it took that long.
No, it takes 30 minutes. Like, I do.
But it's an intentional 30 minutes.
It's an intentional 30 minutes. And, I think my recording runs around 30 minutes. And then you do need to journal before. But, sometimes you don't need to journal before. Or sometimes it just depends. It really depends. But I would say like, it takes less than an hour. It takes less than 45 minutes, truly. And I think that at the end of the day, it's what you value. I mean, I've done inner child work multiple times for the last 7 years of my life, like multiple times a week. Obviously there's been weeks that I haven't, or like seasons where I've done less than others. But honestly, right now I'm actually in a pretty intense period of just inner work. Like, I do Joe Dispenza in the morning, I do my inner child work at night. It makes me feel so good. At the end of the day, if you think that you don't have time, I just want you to look at your screen time.
Oh, drop mic.
And
Yep.
I'm sure it says 5 to 8 hours. And if you just took 30 minutes of those and put that energy towards rewriting your unconscious mind, it would pay you back tenfold. Like, the crazy shit you can do with inner child work, the fact that people are sleeping on this modality blows my mind. Let me tell you some of the beliefs that I've reprogrammed with inner child work. I've reprogrammed the fact that I don't need a corporate job. I've reprogrammed the fact that I make money while I sleep. I've reprogrammed the fact that good things always happen to me. I am the luckiest girl ever. I am an abundant being. People love me. I'm magnetic. And like, Ari, you're in my life. Are those beliefs, are those things that happen to me?
Those are not just in your head.
They're not in my head.
Those are literally real.
But it's because literally when you learn how to shift your electromagnetic field, the beliefs in it, your reality will shift with you.
Which I think a lot of people think it's vice versa. Like, I think a lot of people are like, I'm not lucky. I need to wait for something good to happen for me to believe that I deserve goodness, or that good things are going to happen, or that I am lucky, or whatever it may be. Like, I am lonely and I don't have a partner and I don't have a good guy in my life, but maybe I'll find one. And as soon as he jumps into my life, then things will be different.
Then I'll be happy. Then I'll feel joy. Well, when you actually learn how to master your energy, your unconscious beliefs, all these things, you realize, oh my gosh, if I can just change myself, my reality changes. And at the Joe Dispenza retreat, you know, I've learned this so many times, but every time I relearn it, it just is like such a crazy concept to me. There was this scientist that studied fields around eggs and animals and bodies. And you know, this was a while ago, but he thought, okay, I think it's matter that is actually emitting energy and like informing the field around your body. Like it's the matter, it's what we do have matter that's informing the field. And then he started,
Interesting.
and then he started studying eggs, and he started studying women's like ovary areas. And he realized that he found this pattern where every woman that had this certain pattern in their electromagnetic field was getting cancer later in life. And he was like, oh my God, it's not the body, it's not matter that's informing the field. It's actually the energetic field that's
informing the
informing
body.
the matter. So if you change the information in the field, what does that mean? You change matter. I understand it's really hard to believe in energy. The more you immerse yourself in this world, guys, energy is everything. And I think one of the most beautiful moments that me and you have had together is when I was trying to like explain to you, you know, on the way to Joshua Tree, I'm like, girl, it's all energy. Like this entire world is energy. And I was like, let's just wait. Like I'll show you. And I knew this was going to happen. So me and Ari are having the most beautiful moment at the end of our mushroom trip. And if you've never had mushrooms, when you take a large dose, you start to see the energy, like everything's moving. Basically the veil gets unzipped and you can see sacred geometry and you can see all the energy moving. And we're looking at literally the fabric of the universe moving around because you can see the particles in the air, and we're literally writing in the air. And I was like telling Ari during our mushroom trip, I'm like, look, it's all energy. When you shift your energy, you can change anything.
It was insane. We were literally writing our future in the fabric of reality, like our desires, our manifestations. Like we were like, so what do you want this year? Da-da-da-da-da. Send it up.
Yeah.
So cool.
And so inner child work, like it's the fucking secret. It is the secret to change. It's how you change your unconscious mind, and your unconscious mind is responsible for everything you're going to experience.
One of the things that I do want to make sure that I mention about inner child work, because obviously, again, I'm new to this, is that I didn't really understand the value of going back in time to heal the present and to heal the future. Like, of course, I understand the value of therapy and through talking through things and whatever, but to go back into my childhood and to go back to my child self and talk to her, I was like, why would I need to do that? That was so long ago, one. And two, she was a child. Like I was almost writing off my child self as like, she didn't really get what was going on. She was just a child. Why would I need to talk to her? She didn't know anything. That's exactly the problem. And that's exactly why you need to do it, is because she was a child and she had needs and she had things that
were unprocessed. So let's actually talk about this, because this is a really good point. So when you have that little T trauma or the big T trauma and you didn't have the capacity to feel it, that energy doesn't just go away. That energy gets stored in your body. It gets stored in your belief system. It gets stored. And now you're operating from that trauma. You're operating as the self that didn't get the needs met. So the reason you do need to go back and feel those feelings is because as you feel the feelings, they release, they move through you, and you're no longer operating from that little self that never got her needs met and is scared to speak her truth, from that little self that thought she was only going to get love if she was going to be perfect. And so that trauma gets stored in your body. Like if you guys have ever read The Body Keeps Score by Gabor Mate, like there's so many things. I mean, all of Joe Dispenza's work, like there's so much scientific proof that you have to go, like the energy needs to go somewhere. It's going to get stored in your body. And when you go heal it and you feel it and you learn how to change and shift these core things, like your life just changes. And honestly, this is the purpose of soul expansion. We come here, we sign up for these lessons that we're going to go through that are going to be really hard, these soul contracts that we're going to go through. And our work is to transmute them. The work is to heal them. And so do you need to do inner child work? No, you don't need to, but you're going to have to do the same lesson in another life. So you choose. Why wouldn't you do it now? If you are listening to this podcast and you have the awareness and you know that this is something that you need to heal it now or heal it later. God loves you either way. Like there's no rush in eternity, but I don't know about you,
do it now.
but I'm going to do it now because I want to get to the next level and experience more goodness. So it's like, it's a no-brainer to
Why not?
Yeah.
Totally. Okay, so we've gone through the basics of what is inner child work, why is it important, who should be doing it, et cetera, et cetera. Talk to me now about what it's going to do for me and like what are some of the like tangible benefits that I'm going to reap from doing this work.
I would say one of the biggest things that it helps is confidence and self-worth, because your confidence in your self-worth is, again, it's created in your childhood. That's why when you have, you see little kids that like their parents are obsessed with them and they're validating them a lot and like, all this thing, they grow up to be very confident. They grow up to be these kids that just think everything good is going to happen to them. Maybe even a little cocky, some people would say. That's not that good or bad. I love that for them. They have really high self-worth because they got their needs met. I would say more people than not, they grew up with parents that were going through stuff. They were growing up with parents that also had unhealed inner child, that were projecting their own trauma on their kids, that didn't have time to cater to their needs, that didn't have time to teach them how to feel their feelings and validate their feelings and support them and go to all their sports games. Like this human experience is rough, right? And so a lot of us didn't get all of our needs met. Imagine that. And so because of that, we grow up and we don't have the most confidence, or something shattered our confidence, like a boy didn't like us, or, we didn't have a lot of friends in high school, or we were the weird one, or we got made fun of because of this or that. And so one of the biggest things that it can help you do is build unshakable confidence. It can help you be really secure in yourself, because insecurity is, I need you to like me so that I like me. With inner child work, we're flipping the script. I like and love me. And even if you don't like or love me, it's okay, because I still like or love me. That's what magnetism is, right? A magnetic person, it's not the prettiest person in the room. It's not the person with the most Instagram followers. It's not any of that. All it is I fuck with me so hard. Do you want to fuck with me? If you do, then cool. If you don't, then awesome, also cool.
Which I think to your point with that, I have always been a person that I'd say is pretty confident. I'd say I value myself a lot. I think I'm a pretty worthy person. Even still, doing inner child work was really valuable and really important for me, because I actually am not as self-confident as I thought I was. I actually don't have as much self-worth as I thought I did, because I did inner child work, and I now see, oh my gosh, I actually had another level to get to. So even if you're listening to this and you're like, I don't know, I feel pretty good about myself. I don't really feel like I'm that insecure. I feel like I put on clothes in the dressing room and I always like how I look. I feel like I don't really care about people that follow me on Instagram, or if people hate on me, like I don't really care. No, the reality that you're perceiving as like, oh yeah, I'm a pretty confident person. Oh yeah, I have a lot of self-worth. You probably could be more confident. You probably could, you know what I mean? Like there's always another level.
And I think that with you too, like you are a very confident person. And I think that your inner child wounds they present a little differently. And if you're open to it, can we like talk about some of the ways that
Let's do it.
Like,
guys, let's get personal.
Yeah. Yeah, let's talk about you. Like we've been working a lot on your people pleasing and like being really honest with your emotions. And your inner child wound was that when you had big feelings, you weren't allowed to express them. Like you had someone that wanted to dim them and just like be like, it's fine. And so even though you're a confident person, your inner child wounds were presenting of like, you weren't being really that authentic in all your relationships, because you felt like you had to put a face on to get love. So while confidence can be one of the symptoms or lack of confidence, there's so many other ways that your inner child could be wounded and not operating as your authentic self.
Now, I would love for you to touch on some of the actual like ways of conversing with your inner child and like walk people through that interaction, because over the weekend when I did this work, I realized, we're talking about inner child work. We're talking about conversing with your inner child. I thought there was going to be some big, grandiose conversation that was going to happen between me and my inner child. When in reality, for a lot of the time, I was actually sitting in silence with my inner child. And we just hugged. That was like earth-shattering, ground-shaking. Like I was actually in tears because of that.
Because she wouldn't talk, right?
Because she wouldn't talk. And, you know, it was awkward at first. It's so funny having this conversation also. Like, hi guys, we're just gonna get really personal. It was so interesting sitting with my inner child, and she wouldn't look at me. She wouldn't talk to me, and we sat in complete silence and we just hugged for a lot of it. And then she talked. She ended up opening up. But like, I would love for you to touch on like that interaction and how it might not be so black and white. You might get to the place where you're sitting with your inner child and maybe there's not much that goes on in that conversation. Maybe you are just hugging, but how there's actually so much that can happen as a result of that still.
This is so important because your inner child's work is not one time where you go sit with your inner child. It's a full-on relationship with past versions of yourself. There's different versions of yourself. There's different ages. And, you know, in my longer programs like Inner Work Alchemy, this is a huge part of it, is you have to actually create an environment where your inner child feels safe enough to go look at the past memories, look at the pain. Like your body has actually been trying to push this pain down for your entire life, like in your mind, right? It has literal shortcuts and loops to not look at this trauma. That's why you procrastinate. You're like, if I don't do this thing, then I won't get hurt. I won't lose love. Then I'll just procrastinate. So I don't even have to go through any of that. So it's like your brain is already making shortcuts.
We do just mental gymnastics.
Yeah, we're doing mental gymnastics. And so the one thing I will say about, you know, your interaction is I would be really curious if you went back a second or a third time, because that was the first time you visited your inner child. And it was very obvious because she felt very unsafe. She was shut down. She didn't want to talk at first until she got used to you. Mm-hmm. I would be, you know, I don't know, but like I wouldn't be surprised if the next time you went down, she was actually a lot more open to you meeting her needs. And that's the beauty of this, is it's a skill. The more you do it, the better you get at it. The more you do it, the better you get at navigating those unconscious realms and terrains.
And you're right, it is a relationship.
Yeah, it's like, think about a friendship. If you are trying to make a friend, you don't go to lunch with them once and then never speak to them again. You're going to have no friendship. You're going to have no relationship. You need to call them. You need to make sure they're okay. You want to ask them how they are. You want to check in on them. You want to like do cute things for them. Like that's the same relationship that you have with your inner child. You want to visit her often. You want to ask her every so often, like, do you want anything? Do you want some chocolate? Do you want some flowers? Like, do you want to take a bath? Like it's a relationship. And that's why I said in the beginning, it doesn't have to be going to do a deep subconscious meditation every time. That's how you shift the core beliefs in your frequency. However, it can be an ongoing relationship where, like, you know, I know the other night you got ice cream and we're on a parasite cleanse and we shouldn't have eaten ice cream, but you were like, I wanted the fucking ice cream and I got ice cream. Like that's a beautiful moment with you and your inner child of like, I just had a need and, you know, I wasn't perfect, but I met the need.
Mm-hmm.
So
there's
different ways.
How often should you be doing inner child work? Because it is a relationship and it is something that, you know, you have to put energy into. But is this something where this should be, I mean, I know you mentioned you're doing this nightly at the moment. Is this kind of like in different seasons of life, you do it different amounts or?
Yeah, this is such a good question. I really believe that there's seasons of healing. You know, my clients that are really struggling and getting triggered a lot and building a business and are in a time of a lot of massive growth, in my programs, we're doing it minimum 3 times a week. We're doing it 3 to 6 times a week. And this is if you want optimal, real shifts in your mind. And again, this is not for life. You're going to go through maybe 6 months of really intense healing. And I go through seasons of healing. Like I said, during my human era, I wasn't like really healing that much. Right now, I'm in a really intense spiritual container and I'm trying to integrate all the things that happen. So I'm taking extra time to be in those unconscious realms and like being really gentle with myself. So I would say if you're getting really triggered or you have a big goal or you're not reaching your highest potential, if I'm being straight with you, yeah, you need to be prioritizing it 3 to 6 times a week. If you're, you know, if you don't really care and you're fine and, you know, you're good at your job and you don't really want to change anything, then I mean, do it whenever you want. I don't know. I don't care. Like, right. It's your life. You know, it's your timeline. Right. That's my my take on it is like, it's your timeline. And the thing I want to really kind of say and end with this too is like, guys, if you want to see if this works, low key, like, look at my life. I am not special. I am not different than you. All I am is fucking dedicated to my soul growth. I was in a corporate job once, making $30,000 a year, feeling really like the ugliest friend in the friend group, not confident at all, unable to use my voice. I struggled with fear of judgment, fear of being seen, perfectionism, procrastination. Everything that I teach, the reason I teach it is because I healed it and I know you can. Like, that's why I'm so fucking fired up about inner child work. I'm like, it's going to solve all your problems. Like, jump together, you know? And like, I see these people that say they want this business. They say they want this big life. They say they want to travel all the time so bad. And I'm like, I can help you heal. And then they're like, $77 a month? No. They're like, not worth it. And I'm like, babe, you know, like, you can have everything you want if you actually just committed to your soul growth. I'm so passionate about this work. It's my life's work to help people remember their worthiness through inner healing, through quantum manifestation, through inner child work. And I am so confident if you just give a little bit of your time from this, you are going to reap so many rewards, not only internally, but externally too. But the real rewards are feeling whole, feeling complete, feeling worthy without anybody giving you anything, without any external thing changing. That is wholeness. When you feel, I feel complete and no one's making me feel complete but me. That is a feeling that is worth no amount of money.
I'm so glad that you shared that about yourself. And I feel like that's a great place to end and just be like, listen, you guys are listening to a podcast now with two people that are doing something really different in life. Like, Kristen is out here obviously crushing it in exactly her soul's purpose. She's really chasing the thing. And I feel like everything that you do is so aligned with your highest self right now. Me, I'm chasing a world record in Ironman triathlon, something that I never thought I would say out loud. How strange. This is my soul's journey. But bottom line is, it's never too late.
It's never too late.
It's never too late. I'm on this path right now. I'm feeling there's obstacles. I'm feeling there's roadblocks. And I just did inner child healing for the first time this weekend. And I'm already seeing and understanding the value of it. Like, if you're chasing the thing right now and you've already started and you're like, well, I'm already on the path. So like, do I really need to? Yes. Yeah, you do. You can still heal.
And one of the biggest takeaways, you know, from being in a room with a lot of freaking successful, amazing, spiritually evolved, rich people this week is, it was funny. It's like, I'm looking around and I'm like, you know, it's funny how everyone who has what they want are the ones that are continuing to learn and continuing to grow. Those are the people in this room.
Yep.
And it's funny, like, you know, you would think it would be all the poor people in the room. It would be the people that don't have what they want that are going to these things. But it's like, the people that are in those rooms are the people that are already doing it.
And they're still doing the work.
Yep. They're not stopping. Like, some of my friends, I was like, how many have you been to? And they're like, oh, this is like my 17th Joe Dispenza retreat. I'm like, what? And they're like, yeah, I mean, life gets better and better every time I come back. So why would I stop? You know? So it's truly magical when you realize, like, it's not you get rich and then you do it. It's you do it and then you get rich. It's you do it and then you get successful. It's you do it and then you get confident. It's the other way around. People have the equation all wrong. They're like, when I get confidence, I'll do the hard thing. No, you got to do the hard thing and then you're going to be confident.
Yep.
So
love it.
Love it. Well, I feel like that's a really good place to end. Feel complete?
Feel complete.
Amazing. Thank you guys for listening. If you're watching on YouTube, please like and subscribe if this was helpful. And if you're watching on Spotify and you haven't reviewed the podcast yet, I would so appreciate if you gave me a rating, whatever you think I deserve, but 5 stars is preferred, because this podcast takes a lot of time, a lot of energy, a lot of effort from everyone involved. And I want to keep on bringing you guys the best show ever and helping your soul evolve. So thank you guys for being here. I will see you next week. Bye.
Bye.